It's a very good morning, a bright morning. Karibu sana to Morning Cafe. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. Today is the 14th of January, meaning tuko wapi? Katikati ya Januari. Hapa ndio tunaimba ile wimbo wanasema songa ugali foundation weka ya samaki. Ni katikati ya Januari.
And tomorrow we're going to sing that song.
Kula kasirishe kamati.
All right, karibu sana. My name is Anno Dida. This is Morning Cafe. Thank you so much for choosing us to help you kickstart your day and to inform you on everything that you need to know even as you go about your day.
All right, indeed a big day today. It is the 14th of January. The National Assembly is going to hold a special sitting to vet the three nominees to the cabinet, Lee Kinyanjui, Mutahi Kagwe and Bwana Kabogo. Yes. So that's a big deal today, and we'll be having this gentleman to take a look at some of the dailies, the big headlines. James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, Daniel Manduku, MP Nyaribari Masaba, John Mutambo, former MP Mwingi Central, and John Waluke, MP Sirisia constituency. Have you ever seen a panel like this? Only on Morning Cafe. All right. After that, something else we'll be discussing.
Right, that is from 8 a.m. We'll be talking about digital transformation in SMEs. That is the transformative role of digital solutions in small and medium enterprises. Is digital solutions really the way forward for SMEs? So we'll be talking about that from 8 a.m.
Patrick Moraguri will be in studio. That's a CEO, Have a Go Business Systems. So a quick look at the dailies today. Harufu ya muungano ndio habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Harufu ya muungano, yani kale ka scent ka muungano.
Yeah.
Hey.
And on the standard resignation fears in Ruto cabinet.
Using an image of Justin Muturi, but who else looks like they want to resign? Drums of war. Big headline there on the front page of the Daily Nation. Kuna watu kadhaa pale na wote wanakaa mdomo wazi.
People Daily wanasema inside plot to remove judges.
Interesting. At least matters to do with the judiciary. Big test for Ruto as new budget starts. Yes, the budgeting process has been underway since September last year. And we have the CS for Treasury there. What exactly does he have in store for us?
And Business Daily, Ruto Kindiki offices 1.6 billion Kenyan shillings for renovations. Yeah.
1.6 B.
Yes.
All right. I thought it's Gachagua ndo alikuwa na budget kubwa sana because he said yeye ndo alikuwa anataka ku... Okay, anyway. Let's cross over to Uganda and take a look at what's big there. Day of reckoning, that's the front page of the Daily Monitor. They say Uganda's opposition leader Kizza Besigye will learn his fate today when the General Court Martial under Brigadier General Freeman Mugabe returns a string of verdicts on possession of arms and cross-border arrests. That story is featured on pages 2 and 3. Should be remembered that Senior Counsel Martha Karua leads the battery of lawyers in defense of Kizza Besigye. Yes, so there's a standoff as Besigye refuses to take plea. UPDF captain introduced as third suspect. Army seeks to add treachery charge. Lawyers poke holes in Besigye treachery trial. Jailing of Aaron Kizza, now that is one of Kizza's lawyers, as intimidated as Karua says, that's the lead counsel for Kizza Besigye. And finally, state response to defense lawyers. This is a big story in Uganda today, as the court-martial is set to give a ruling. Another interesting story there on the front page of the Daily Monitor in Kampala this morning. 6 thugs killed in foiled Acacia Mall robbery. The story is on page 8 of this paper.
Siku za mwezi.
Siku za mwezi. Hata wakiwa wengi, bado ni 40. Okay.
A new vision, Besigye case, UPDF officer charged, and he has been charged with treasury. Yep. Charge sheet amended, Besigye Letale declined to take plea again. And you know Martha Karua, wamekataa hii mambo of adding this new case to the already ongoing one. Yes.
And it's interesting because now that's a court-martial, it's a military case. It's no longer the normal judicial process. So what happens today? Will they give a ruling, and what will the ruling be? That's a big headline in Uganda. All right. We cross over to Tanzania. Take a look at The Citizen. The main story there on the front page, they say regulatory dilemma. Where are telecom listings on DSE? 8 years after mobile network operators in Tanzania were required to begin listing on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, only one company has done so to date. In Kenya, I think all of them are listed. But probably there's been a bit of a slow progression in Tanzania. That's a big headline there on the front page of The Citizen. Other quick highlights on this front page. Mbowe calls for unity as Chadema elders youth wings hold elections. In preparations for the general election, there's a lot of activity, especially around the opposition party, Chadema.
Yep.
Palichini, religious leaders say prioritize these issues in drafting of Vision 2050. Well, in Kenya, we talk about Vision 2030. Kule wanaongelea 2050. 2050. But 2030, we're only 6 years away.
Yes.
Are we anywhere close to achieving any of those development goals? Okay. Minister orders reproduction of 31,000 flawed national ID cards. It's another story in Tanzania this morning.
Yes, and on Mwananchi Tanzania, polisi waliamsha magari mabovu ya shule ya Sakwa. We said lazima tujifunze Kiswahili, and we will be reading Mwananchi more.
So that's a crackdown on school buses. Yes.
Yes. And we have Maria Sarungi adai alitekwa na watu 4. That story has been given prominence as well here in Kenya.
Yes, she was abducted in Kenya, she was released in Kenya,
yes,
but it gets to the front page of the Mwananchi in Tanzania.
Yes. And shughuli yaanza na Basecha, Bavicha huku Mbowe na Lisu wakitoa misimamo, wajumbe Bavicha wakomalia posho hatua kwa hatua kilichotokea. This is Tanzania politics.
Yes.
Panachimbika.
Habari kuu pale ni panachimbika. Uchaguzi Chadema.
Yes.
So Chadema, which is the opposition party, is preparing for the general election. So I think they're carrying out their grassroots elections, kama ile inaitwa primaries. So kuna joto pale cha kisiasa kule Tanzania, wakiendelea kungojea tarehe ya uchaguzi mkuu baadaye mwaka huu. So in gazeti la Mwananchi, these are just some of the stories both regionally and locally. We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies in a short while. Cartoons will come in later. For now, let's check out the weather situation. And today, tunajaribu kukua a bit tech savvy. So if you look at across Africa, there's a lot of cloud cover, especially on the East African region. This is Madagascar, areas around Mozambique, Malawi, Zimbabwe, a lot of cloud cover, even in the Central African areas, Angola, towards the south, western side, Gabon. But if you come back to Kenya, according to this, there's not much cloud cover, apart from these areas of Lake Victoria. But when you come to what we're used to, take a look at Kericho, 16 degrees Celsius, feels like 15. But you look at this, there's a lot of cloud cover throughout the day.
Yeah.
Yes, 26 degrees being the highest in Kericho today. A bit of sunny intervals very early in the morning between 7 and 9. After that, cloud cover throughout the day. That is Kericho. Take a look at Loitoktok, which is probably the southernmost part of Kenya, bordering Tanzania. Look at this. 18 degrees as you speak. Look at this. The entire day.
Yes.
No sun. It's just a cloud cover. Highs of 24 degrees Celsius.
It feels like 22 at the moment.
Yes, that's Loitoktok. Let's take a look at Marsabit.
Marsabit, 21 degrees, feels like 23. Cloud cover throughout.
Yes.
A little bit of sunshine here. Saa moja, saa mbili. Ni jua kweli.
Alafu kuanzia saa 3 hadi jioni, cloud cover. Highs of 29 degrees though, so it can actually get warm, but there'll be cloud cover. So you've seen from Kericho, Loitoktok to Marsabit, cloud cover throughout. Let's take a look at Mombasa. You see if at all it's going to be any different. Shockingly, even in Mombasa, cloud cover.
Yeah.
Despite the warm weather. It feels like 29 degrees currently, but it is 26. Highs of 31 degrees Celsius expected. A bit of sunny intervals later in the evening from 4 p.m. But for the better part of the day,
cloud cover.
Cloud cover. Let's take a look at Nairobi, see if at all it's going to be any different. And imepotea, wacha tuitafute tu tena.
Okay.
Because Nairobi lazima tuangalie, haiwezi potea. Hiyo mbona inajaribu kuleta maneno.
Nairobi.
Yes.
17. Feels like it.
Okay.
Cloud cover throughout. Jua kidogo from 7 to 11, thereabout. Highs of 26 degrees.
but for the better part of the day, cloud cover. So it looks like a very cloudy day across, not just Kenya, but across Africa. If you look at that map, you can't see the cloud cover above Kenya, but it looks like probably it's a continental thing.
Yep.
So that's the weather situation across most areas of not just Kenya, but the region, the continent of Africa. Let's take a look at traffic situation in Nairobi this morning. Being katikati ya Januari, watu wameanza kurecover, wale walikuwa wameshindwa kutoa magari nyumbani wanaanza kutoa, but it's still slow traffic. Yeah. A bit of build up around Pangani interchange, nothing to worry about. This is actually very slow traffic. Yeah. Areas around Isli building up. Juja Road, it's still early. It's about 1:15 the hour, and it's very polite even on Juja Road. Same situation prevails on Jogoo Road as well. I can't see any bits of red. Just a very small part of Mbotela area there. Just a bit of red there. Na hiyo ni matatu tu zimesimama hapo. But it's green all the way for the better part of the stretch of Jogoo Road into town. Landis Road looking green all the way. So even Mudhuru, Machakos area is green. Yeah. The only problem is around that inaitwa pale Bomb Blast. Yeah. That roundabout there, once you're going up Haile Selassie Avenue. But apart from that, you remember last week ilikuwa ni red upande huu na upande huu for the better part of the week. So things are improving. Mombasa Road is looking good. Huku ingine ni kama hakuna watu. Langata Road, Mbagathi Way, Ngong Road, nothing much to report. And finally Waiyaki Way inakaa mzuri ukiingia town. So the only problem probably town. In fact, there's no problem in as far as traffic is concerned. You can go about your business this morning. All right.
It's time to leave.
Yes.
The house.
Should leave now. Yes.
Let's take a look at the quote of the day. The biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams.
All right, let's now come back and take a look at the local dailies. Na tunaanza leo na gazeti la Taifa Leo. Wanasema harufu ya muungano. Wananiandama. Natembea washauri wa ndani wa Ruto wanaotishia kumng'atua kwenye ugavana wafanye hivyo upesi ndipo wapate fursa ya kutangamana na ground. Alisifiwa sana na Gachagua kwa kukabiliana vikali na marafiki wa Ruto magharibi mwa Kenya. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Wanasema anatembea hapa kushirikiana na Mlima Kenya kisiasa, akisema taaluma yake imekuzwa katika eneo hilo. And this promises to be a very interesting union if at all it actually does happen. Yes. The former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and the new political voice in Western Kenya. Yes. Ule jamaa wa Tawe. George Natembea. Ule anasema. Wanasema tu Tawe. Harufu ya muungano. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili. Pale juu anasema hesabu ya mwaka 2027 yapigwa. Ni swali. Maafisa serikalini waanza kutoa ishara wako tayari kujiuzulu kama njia ya kujipanga. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa 3 na wametumia picha ya aliyekuwa spika wakati mmoja, sasa ni waziri katika wizara ya public service. Anaitwa JB Muturi. Je, atafutwa ama atajiuzulu? Pale chini kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hilo wanasema hafla ya kupigia debe Raila yaja. Serikali kutumia kongamano la marais Nairobi kumvumisha Raila kwa AUC. Kwa hivyo kutakuwa na kongamano la marais wa Afrika hapa Nairobi mwezi huu. Tuone kama itasaidia. Kwingineko, Aladwa sasa amuonya Sifuna, amshutumu kwa kupinga ushirikiano kati ya ODM na serikali ya Kenya Kwanza. Kunani ODM? Masuala ya spoti, wanasema Barcelona yafunza Real Madrid soka. Catalonia watoa Super Cup kwa kuwalima wapinzani wao bila imani. Bila imani. Lakini habari kubwa anasema harufu ni ya muungano.
Kabisa.
The Standard.
The Standard, resignation fears in Ruto cabinet. Now as President Ruto grapples with the escalating dissent within his cabinet, the stepping down of a senior official yesterday and discontent among point men point to deeper fractures. And you know, kuna picha bado hapo ya public service CS Justin Muturi, ambayo we're still asking, will he resign?
He's become the face of dissent.
Yes.
Within.
And you know, the one they're talking about is Peter Mbaye, who resigned yesterday. And you know, that is where they're saying President William Ruto is grappling with escalating dissent within his cabinet. Okay. And we have another one here. Police bosses make a mockery of the courts. For the upteenth time, senior officers have failed to heed court orders. And Justice Mwita, you know, wamepatia DPP and the Inspector General up to Friday to appear before court.
Hata wapatia hadi next year. Hawatarudi.
Utanifanyia nini?
Mutafanya nini? Kumbuka hiyo headline, utafanya, utadu.
Right, that story is on page 7 of the Standard. And Tanzanian activist tells of kidnap horror, that is Seringa. Sarungi, yes. Yeah. Stripped from her Celine turned into Maria Tsehai's worst nightmare as abductors sought to access information in her phone before releasing her. And on the top strip, we have grade 9 learners face congestion and teacher shortage.
All right.
Yes.
Kuna picha moja po interesting ya Raila, wanasema he has bagged more AUC support, and we see him here with the Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa in Harare yesterday, as Bwana Odinga continues with his campaigns for the AUC position. Well, we're counting days. Yeah. February sio mbali. Tutajua ukweli wa mambo ukifika mwezi wa pili wa mwaka huu.
Yes.
On the back page, matters sports. No place to hide for Arteta as trophy drought set to continue. That's a big headline in as far as sports is concerned, and that's the Standard. Let's take a look at the Daily Nation. Daily Nation, big headline, drums of war. President William Ruto's allies have in recent days made strongly worded statements vowing to secure him a second term in office in 2027 by whatever means possible, echoing past reckless declarations by politicians that have plunged the country into post-election turmoil. The story is covered on pages 4 and 5. Very interesting choice of photos there on the front page. You can see each of the 4 gentlemen used have their mouths open. Yeah. Huyu ni photo editor alienda shule. Watu wanaongea sana. Mmoja wao ni Dadaab MP Farah Maalim, Kapseret MP Oscar Sudi, Cabinet Minister for Mining and Blue Economy Hassan Joho, and Tiati MP William Kamket, who over the last few days have made some very serious comments that have left many people wondering where.
Yeah.
Watu wanajipiga kifua.
24 years.
Watu wanajipiga kifua sana mpaka wanasema sisi hata tunaweza kataa kutoka hapo. Mutadu. Some drums of war. Ruto silence emboldens culprits. And many people have been talking about the fact that these people make all these comments right in front of the president. And most of the time ukiangalia when the camera is focusing on the president, is smiling.
Yes.
Meaning he approves of what they say. Well, that's a big story on the front page of the Daily Monitor. They've given quite some prominence to this story about Maria Sarungi, the Tanzanian journalist who was abducted for some hours this week. They say by the time abductors set her free, Maria Sarungi was disoriented, scared, her head, which was constantly pinned to the floor of the vehicle, aching, and her hand numb from the tightness of the handcuffs used to restrain her. Now, speaking since release on Sunday evening, the Tanzanian political activist and businesswoman yesterday accused the Tanzanian government, in collaboration with some Kenyan security officers, of her kidnap and torture. And she's among the very few lucky ones who was released only hours after her abduction.
Yeah.
Yes, others spent days.
Inasemekana ni wa Kenya pale X walipiga kelele akatolewa, which is
hata
nice.
Kuna jamaa alikuwa anaendesha basi. Matatu akajaribu kufungia lakini hakumanage. But either way, she's free and she's been able to narrate what happened to her. Very interesting story there on the bottom right-hand corner of the front page of the Daily Nation. Health crisis as condoms, ARVs, vaccines run out. So they say Kenya has completely run out of essential medical supplies, including HIV medicines, testing kits, and vaccines. And this, in my opinion, should have been the main story here on the front page of the Daily Nation.
We are talking about this in 2025. It was a conversation last year.
And these are matters of health.
Yes.
What is bigger than health matters? Hawa watu wanaweza ongea till hell freezes over. But the fact that we've run out of essential vaccines is a story, because this puts millions of lives at risk in what health officials are calling an unprecedented crisis. The country's public and private hospitals are facing severe shortages of atazanavir, a crucial HIV drug, along with condoms, BCG vaccines for newborns, and most HIV testing equipment after depleting stocks during the Christmas period. Watu wametumia stocks proper over Christmas. Sasa hata BCG ya watoto hakuna. And this is not the main headline. It worries me. Learning paralyzed at Moi University as staff down tools. Kwani walikuwa wamefungua shule? Mimi nilidhani shule ilifunga. The crisis rocking Moi University appears far from over. Yesterday, both teaching and non-teaching staff announced the resumption of job boycott, accusing the management of failing to honor the return to work formula, vowing to resume work, not to resume work rather, until their December salaries are paid in full. That's the story on the back page of this paper.
And you know, I saw a video of Oscar Sudi telling President William Ruto, "Hii building ya Moi University unaona hapa ni building tu, hii shule."
Yeah. I remember a few months back, not even a few months, a few years back, the same MPs from that region made sure that they changed the vice chancellor of Moi University because they wanted someone from their community to become the VC.
Wanaona dust.
Vumbi. I changed to a Institute of Dust. Vumbi ni constant. Yes, that's the Daily Nation today. People Daily.
Apple People Daily, they're saying inside plot to remove judges, and they say former LSK president, that is Nelson Harvey, accuses Supreme Court jurists of corruption in overturning Court of Appeal decisions, and CJ Kome of incompetence and gross misconduct. That story is on page 4 of People Daily, and Kome alisema, why should I resign? I would want to ask you that question. I have a tenure. Yes, so looks like she's not resigning anytime soon. But Nelson Harvey naye pamoja na is it Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi insist that the 7-judge bench, they must go.
Okay.
Yes.
Na kama ulikuwa umesahau who sits on the Supreme Court, the judges are there on the front page of the People Daily. You can just remind yourself. Tumekaa sana bila kuwaona.
Yes.
Tunasikia tu CJ, Deputy CJ. There are other 5 judges of the Supreme Court to make 7.
And this is also in line with the 2022 general election, ile Supreme Court, ile ambayo CJ Kome alisema that is hot air and wild goose chase.
Wild goose chase and hot air.
That is the gross misconduct Nelson Harvey is talking about.
Right.
And we have another story there at the top strip. Kenya and diplomatic gaffe over Sudan warlord. That story is on page 7. On education matters, university students on the age of fees. That is about the new university funding model, ambayo wanasema bado haifanyi kazi. Help was helping them a lot. And we have, this is member for Lego Songa, ODM MPs vow to back Ruto in 2027 polls.
Well, but the Secretary General speaks a different story.
Yes.
Yes. So it will happen. Back to the issues of diplomacy in Kenya. Currently, you know that the head of state, President William Ruto, is actually away on a trip to Dubai. But if you learn the details, he's going to sign a few deals. Those deals were initially meant to be signed in Kenya. But the leader of the Emiratis decided, no, I can't come to Kenya. Kuja upande hii. There's another royal family representative from Europe that's supposed to be visiting Kenya. And a number of Kenyans have written enough emails to that monarch telling them Kenya is not the place to visit now. Yes. So we wait to see whether or not they will actually go ahead and visit. So yes, diplomacy, kuna mambo mingi naendelea. Take a look at the Star. Today being Tuesday, the Star is not for sale. It is a free copy and comes complete with that MyGov pullout for government tenders and job opportunities inside the Star. So smart people read the Star, independent, fresh and different. The big headline on the front page this morning, big test for Ruto as new budget starts. Government has breached borrowing limit and has no wiggle room to take loans. And President has to balance between fiscal sustainability and possible public outrage. Stories on pages 4 and 5, and a quote there, quoting the CS for Treasury, saying, going forward, we will see minimal changes on taxes. We will start with this year. I don't see us having many tax proposals, and especially those that are going to increase the taxes. So he says they're not going to be many, but they'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. A very interesting story on page 2 of this paper. There's a judge who stood up to a family over corruption, and he says the litigants were busy wielding briefcases stuffed with loads of cash. So this is High Court Judge Asenath Ongeri, who says that she was able to fend off this family who was trying to corrupt her. And that's the Star today. Yes, they make mention of what's going on in Parliament today. Lawmakers to vet Uhuru men for cabinet jobs today. National Assembly Speaker Mrs. Wetangula will today lead a panel of MPs to vet President William Ruto's latest cabinet nominees. Mutahi Kagwe, whose health CS in Uhuru's administration, he was nominated to head the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. He'll be the first to appear. Finally, matters business on the Business Daily.
Now, Ruto Kindiki offices seek 1.6 billion Kenyan shillings for renovations. State House among buildings marked for refurbishment. And expenditure in collapsed bill, Finance Bill 2024, reinstated.
All right, 1.6 billion shillings is what we expect to be budgeted for renovations of both the Deputy President and the President's offices.
Right. And we also have a photo of Maria here, Mayudili in the hands of abductors. Business Daily nowadays wanaenda all round.
You have to be with it, otherwise you have to have something.
All right. And we also have a puzzle of higher LPG prices despite scraping of taxes. And they say consumers are yet to enjoy lower cooking gas prices more than a year after the government scrapped 3 taxes on LPG.
Wamesema itatoka kutoka 500 hadi shilingi 300.
Bado hawajaona.
Other quick highlights on the ticker there. Parastatals outpace others in government debt holdings. Jumia to cut logistics costs of orders with EVs. That's what? Electronic powered vehicles. Amaco doubles PSV insurance market share, and finally Treasury to spend 1.8 billion shillings on digital asset regulations. Now this is probably the most curious story. You know, the kind of uproar, the kind of criticism going towards government through social media. So Treasury has decided they're going to spend 1.8 billion shillings on digital asset regulation. Treasury estimates that Kenya will require 1.8 billion to formulate and publicize regulations for the use of cryptocurrency and digital tokens. That's as far as business is concerned. Na tumemaliza magazeti ya leo. Tuangalie karakacha. Katuni ya kwanza tuko nayo ni ya The Star. Kuna kikapu cha machungwa pale. Kuna ballot box ya AU. Kuna huyu ni the Djibouti candidate. Head of State ako pale pia, na kuna acting ODM party leader Professor Anyang' Nyong'o. Wanasema nini? Our position will depend on his position. So come February, whether Raila Odinga is successful at the AUC will determine how the ODM party will approach its politics going forward. Now this is a reality. Hata kama ODM wasema will support President Ruto come 2027, our position will depend on his position. Yes.
No, sometime back mtu aliwaita watermelon. It's starting to make sense.
The real watermelon, not orange.
Yes. We are coming after you.
Hawa wamekuja sana hawa. This is a cartoonist on the Standard. Ametumia silhouette. Na unajua hizi silhouette vile zimeleta tumbo joto. Yes. Very senior government officials are not happy with the use of silhouettes to actually describe the head of state and other people. So there we have your friend, the CS for Interior. Amebeba rungu.
We are coming after you. Na yeye pia alijipata.
Yes, sasa kama yeye ndio huyu si ndio huyu hapa. Alafu anago after the other silhouettes. Na alikuwa amesema by the way wakiendelea he will take charge. He will make sure they are all, and then this cartoonist does this to him. Hii ni ile kuambia utadu.
Utanifanyia?
Fanya vile utafanya.
And you know kila mtu, no one is safe. I even saw Samia Suluhu.
Yes.
After Maria was abducted.
Very unfortunate. And it would appear the more the government and the senior government officials are daring these people to do it, they're doing it.
Yes.
Yeah? Sama fanya kenye utafanya vile ukikasirika. Fanya vile ukikasirika vile ufanya.
We have biting the finger that feeds you. This is the one, People Daily. That is Justin Muturi, CS Public Service. Munch, munch, munch.
He is munching the finger.
This is in line with his remarks on Sunday. Condemning the abductions and calling for a debate on this conversation.
Yeah, and people are wondering why he's still in office.
Yes.
Many are saying that he should have been fired immediately. Probably his current position should be among those that are set to be filled by the nominees who are undergoing vetting
today.
But ni kama yeye anangojea afutwe. Amesema hata toka hapo afutwe, lakini ule mfutaji ni kama ana
maybe kuna letter ishatumwa.
Believe you me, if the president says it's time for him to go, there are so many people who would be excited to see him out.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a secret. So that's People Daily. It's the same story on the Daily Nation.
That is Justin Muturi hapo ndani. This hiyo ni gari ya abductors pale, au sio? Kabisa, this is Justin Muturi condemning this. And we have a photo here.
Yeah, so this is inside State House. Huyu jamaa huku nje anauliza swali hii, what is this? Kini huku ndani kuna jamaa ana play tu na dice. Kuna caricature of the president and his CS for interior. Wanajaribu kuona vile wanaweza cool down hii maneno ya abductions. What will they do? People are expecting you to fire the guy.
Yeah.
Mbona unangoja, mbona unachelewa? You've been dead, fire me. Ni kama amewekwa kona, because you see, after the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, how then do you go to the same Mount Kenya and fire another senior cabinet secretary?
Yes.
Yes. Wamefinywa kwa kona kiasi. But he's still the head of state. He can pull a few strings and see what happens. These are just some of the discussions. And what I'm describing is not me who's saying, it's not me who caricatured this. There's a cartoonist I can't even draw to save myself. This is a cartoon on the Daily Nation. Mimi nasema tu na describe for wale ambao wanasikiza kama radio. These are just some of the stories and headlines that we'll be looking at today with my panelists. Daniel Manduku, MP Nyaribari Masaba, is among those who will be in studio this morning for that discussion, alongside James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, Joe Mutambo, former MP Mwingi Central, and John Waluke, MP Sirisia. Coming up at 8.
Transformative role of digital solutions in small and medium enterprises. Is digital solutions the way for SMEs? We'll be talking about that with Patrick Muraguri from 8 a.m.
All right, do stand by for that. Socials.
TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube, on X at TV47 News KE, at Ann_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My X handle is at Fred Indemule.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indemuli. Before we get down to introducing our panelists this morning, the big headline on the front page of the Standard talks about resignation fears in Ruto's cabinet and an image there of the CS for Public Service, Justin Muturi. Of course, he's among those people who have expressed their dissent against the same government that he serves. It is among the reports filed by one of our reporters. Let's see this report.
Indeed, it's very surprising to hear a minister who sat in the Justice Ministry as the AG does not understand the protocols of how you go about addressing such issues. We could have expected the Muturi to go and record statement, even report, because he knows how the government works, to go and report who is abducting who and where are the abductees. And after that, we wanted him to take what you call collective responsibility in terms of him being in the executive, other than saying that he's spilling the beans. Only that we know the fact of the matter is he's bitter because of the entry of the other cabinet colleagues in the former regime.
The CS, any person of that stature is entitled to his personal opinion. However, it is wrong for him to come and air the views from outside when he has a privilege which Kenyans doesn't have to sit in cabinet. He sits in cabinet where he can discuss with president, where he can raise those issues in cabinet. The highest decision-making organ in the Republic of Kenya is cabinet.
It is completely hawa watu hawajui Justin Muturi. Nyinyi mnajua Muturi ni nani? Hawajui, they are not concerned. So why should I talk about him and what he said? Wacha tuongee, hawa watu wanataka kusikia nikiongea mambo ya maji. Hata hawajui Justin ni nani, hawajui ni wa wapi. So wanataka anakaa aje.
All right. Yes. It's one of those stories that has elicited a lot of reactions. And allow me now to introduce my panelists this morning, beginning on my immediate right. James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, karibu sana.
Thank you.
Daniel Manduku, MP Nyaribari Masaba, karibu sana TV47.
Thank you very much.
And for the first time this year, Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central, Happy New Year, karibu sana.
Happy New Year to you.
Yes, very interesting discussions, especially coming from that Sunday press briefing by the CS for Public Service, Justin Muturi. And many people are wondering, why is he still at work? Many people would have expected that the president would have let him go by now, or he would have offered to resign. That is yet to happen. A lot of discussions going on social media. It is still making headlines. And you can actually see it. So most of the front pages, on the front page of the Daily Nation, I don't fear the sack. Minister says he does not care losing his job over his abduction comments. That's on page 6. On the Standard, it's a main story. Resignation fears in Ruto cabinet. As President Ruto grapples with escalating dissent within his cabinet, the stepping down of a senior official yesterday, and discontent among point men point to deeper fractures. That story is on page 4 of the Standard. And let me start with you, Bwana Manduku. What is happening in the broad-based government? Because many people don't understand exactly what's happening here. We have CSs for the first time coming out to speak openly against the same government they serve.
Thank you, Fred. And I am not a member of the broad-based government, but then as an observer, what is happening is what we call displacements and replacements. There's a theory called isostatic readjustment. Mm-hmm. Things are coming in, people are coming in, others must leave. But then, coming to the case of Justin Muturi, he served as Speaker of the National Assembly in the last regime, and those who are in the House, the 12th Parliament, attest to the fact that he was an excellent speaker. He later on served as AG of the Republic of Kenya. Now he's serving as Minister for Public Service. Let me say here that that is a peripheral ministry. In government, there's what we call portfolio balance. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of ministry where you can sleep the whole day and nothing goes wrong. So, in a sense, he has no job. And so he's realized that with the new entrants coming in, with key portfolios, he's going to be relevant. Mm-hmm. And so he must create what I call an aura of importance.
Are you saying that the moment he left the position of Attorney General, he was always on his way out?
Not really. He was just on the periphery, and I think he held that position because he is one of the principals in the Kenya Kwanza coalition. But being Minister of Public Service, is not a serious job. Because we have the Public Service Commission, which does all the work in public service. So it's just
you have
paper
a head
pushing.
of public service.
It's just paper pushing. And so he has realized that for him to be relevant in the Mount Kenya politics, he must create a storm and be sacked. But then if I was him, I would have resigned. You know, that's what I say. Some of these guys don't have, sorry my language, balls enough. And leave the job. Instead of going to give a press conference many months after your son was abducted. Did he just realize that his son was abducted yesterday? No. There's also a theory that Rigathi Gachagua has him as his presidential candidate. That is gaining currency, and possibly he's trying to create a storm so that he can be sacked and therefore give a reason that, you see, just like Rigathi was sacked, I'm also sacked. But then I think if I was Justin Muturi, I would just leave and do my thing.
Yes. And that suggestion that he may be ready to be fired, Bwana Mutambu, because many people would have expected any person who's expressing this kind of dissent against a government itself, that they would be honorable enough to resign. But there must be some dividends to be gained from being fired as a cabinet secretary, at least politically, don't you think, instead of resigning?
First and foremost, I would want to wear Muturi's shoes, right? Most of us here, we have served in government. Yes, I have. And we know the bureaucracy of the government, right? And we understand pretty well the channels or what you should do when you are aggrieved with the same government you are serving. We know. But I feel Muturi because, one, whether his son was abducted a year ago, 2 years ago, the pain of a father still remains. And maybe he's been pursuing to get to the bottom of the matter. I am not trying to be his advocate, but I'm trying to wear his shoes. Maybe he's been pursuing to have either the matter resolved or to understand why his son was abducted. And maybe he never got answers. And for him, being in the same government, which is denying him the facts of what happened, him, as a man, he will erupt tomorrow. Forget about the alignment of politics. But as a father, I would do the same. I would want the same government I'm serving to tell me what and why my son was abducted.
Yet he is in cabinet. He would have raised these questions there.
You know, let me tell you, cabinet do not do investigation. Cabinet will not give you an answer. The business of cabinet is totally different. Even if you raise it in cabinet, they'll tell you the DCI.
He has access to the
president. The DCI will give us information. Maybe he was frustrated. I'm only thinking loudly. I don't know. But coming to the norm of operation in government as a minister, everybody is right to say Muturi could have gone through the cabinet, or he could have raised the matter with the president or any other. But I can tell you, those who watch football, they are very good players. But the moment you put them on the pitch, it's a different story. So those who we watch from outside, we imagine what need to be done or what need to happen. But maybe those people who are inside, it is not happening to them. So it is quite difficult for any human being, to go through what Muturi went. And I'm not defending him. Yes, he's a CS, and my friend here is saluting that it's just a paper pushing a job. But any government job is a government job, all right? And maybe, because we are in a political rearrangement right now, maybe Muturi has felt that from where I sit, I'm not adding value to myself, and I'm not adding value to my community. Okay. And you know, politics is about interest. And we will tell you, politics is local. If what he's doing does not augur well with the people he serves, trust you me, he will follow what the people serve, because those are the people who will give him the next position.
Okay. This story on the Standard indicates a growing discontent within the cabinet and other ranks within government, and they're calling it escalating dissent. Yesterday we saw the resignation of head of government delivery service, Peter Mbae. And Bwana Gakuya, many people are wondering, should we expect more of such going forward? That we're going to see now many people coming out and expressing openly their dissent with this government.
Thank you, Edmore. Allow me to salute the viewers, wherever they were watching us from. And coming to the matter on standard handwriting and the discussion this morning in general, what I would like to say is that the temperature, which seems to be at the boiling point, there has to be a problem somewhere. And this problem, to my view, it is meant by micromanagement. One, I would like to say, it is unfortunate that these ministers, all of them, except maybe those who comes from the region where the appointing authority comes from, are totally silent, mute. It tells you that they does not enjoy any independence in their docket. And it's true. And I would like to say, somebody by the name Head of Public Service is everything, including the powers that are vested to the ministers to appoint board members. They never does. That's a job that is done by Head of Public Service. And it's unfortunate that actually the names of the ministers, the ones who appear to the Kenya Gazette, but they don't know anybody in the list. It tells you that the kind of micromanagement which is in the system. And Muturi is only that is broad enough. Maybe to say enough is enough. And I just want to cite this particular case of yesterday, of Bae. Bae pointed the head of public service. It tells you that, in fact, he cannot be heard. He has to advise. Nobody is hearing his advice. And therefore, he found himself toothless. And he decided, yes, instead of sitting here just as an amateur, I better quit early instead of taking home brims of things that are not happening. In this regard, I would like to say, yes, system works, but one system works because of freedom. And once you deny your cabinet freedom, I don't know how they are going to perform their duties.
Okay. But
and I also want to say that, in fact, it is true that various ministers have no say, and the powers with the accounting officers. And that is, the appointing officer relies with them. And when you become a stooge like that, then you have no comfort in such dockets.
It is one thing to be discontented about the working of the government and probably micromanagement, as Bwana Gakuya says, but it did not escape our notice that when the CS for Public Service made this statement, that among those people who were present there, maybe did not appear on camera, but was captured at least by one of the dailies, was none other than the Manyata MP, Bwana Mukunji, who's allied to the former deputy president. This seems to suggest that there is more than just discontent within the administration, that there could be other political leanings to it. Don't you agree, Bwana Manduku, that there's more than meets the eyes?
That's precisely what I said, that this is a political storm that is being created so that the Embu nation is counted among those allied to the former deputy president. And for the avoidance of doubt, today I can tell you the former deputy president controls 70–80% of Mount Kenya. And so, and as he said, politics is local. You want to be in the right side of history. I can tell you that Justin Muturi is looking to his future. He knows that this is done and dusted, and so he must be in the next dispensation at whatever level. And that is why he is coming out boldly to criticize his government so that he can have a reason to get sacked and therefore create some kind of capital, political capital. And that is what he's doing.
Okay.
And my friend, member for Manyata, Honorable Mukunji, is a strong ally of the former deputy president. So it cannot be that he was there by mistake. This is all planned.
Right. Bwana Mutambu, today the National Assembly, at least a committee on appointments, will be engaging in the vetting process of 3 cabinet nominees from the same region, Mount Kenya or the larger Mount Kenya region. So this could be seen as an attempt by the president to counter the kind of dissent we are seeing here. But given the workings of this government, and some of those people have worked in government before, do you see it working?
I am on record here telling you that Mount Kenya and Ruto, kaput. I told you that. And I told Kenyans the same. It doesn't matter what Ruto does to Mount Kenya. The results are the same. And that's why I pity my good friend, the president. You can give them all the seats, but trust you me, if Mount Kenya has decided to vote in a certain direction, that is the direction they will go. It doesn't matter who comes in to tell them otherwise. And if I was Mr. Ruto, or the President Ruto, yes, it is good to fight for your position, like what he's doing. He's trying to get some inroads into Mount Kenya. But the answer, political answer, it may be very bitter for him. The people you put in place, they cannot make any impact into Mount Kenya. They cannot change nothing. So I don't think whatever is happening today in the parliament has got anything to do with cooling the heat in Mount Kenya, because what happened with the Muturi is just the other day. The appointment of these ministers came away far, all right? It is not yesterday. So they were appointed about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So if they are being vetted today, that does not mean it is to rub or to cool or to fight the fire in Mount Kenya. The fire in Mount Kenya is burning and raging and spreading all over the country. Where any person, Kikuyu, where they are, it's like they have made a decision. And a lot of work needs to be done to compensate that. If I was Ruto, I would be working very hard to compensate the numbers which I may lose in Mount Kenya. That's what I would be doing. I will not go to the same Mount Kenya people who are showing me disrespect, who are telling me, no, we are not with you, and I keep on adding them more seats. To them, it's like a mockery. They are saying, even if you give us what? So that is the voice you need to listen and find out where can I compensate these numbers. You know, what I look at is winning a presidency is not gaining 10 million votes or 8 million votes. The Constitution demands more. The Constitution demands Uganda 25% of how many counties? 24?
Half the counties.
Half the counties, all right? And I will be asking myself, which counties host Kikuyus? Allow me to talk that way. Which counties? I look at Kitui County, for example. How many Kikuyus? The 25% Ruto got in Kitui County was contributed by so many Kikuyus who live in Mwingi, who live in Kitui, who live in the areas of Kitui. And I can tell you, I come from Mwingi Central, and we have large number of Kikuyu people who voted for Ruto, because I'm the one who was campaigning for him, who voted for Ruto. And if those Kikuyus revert and do not vote for Ruto, the 25% will be very difficult to get in Kitui. I will look at Kajiado here, all right? Kajiado comes all the way up to Kitengela. How many Kikuyus live there? And if those Kikuyus don't vote, to me, what will happen? Will I get the 25%? That is what Ruto need to be working on now, instead of trying to rub shoulders with the same Kikuyus who are telling him no, and they are resigning every day. And they will keep on resigning, let me tell you. Because they feel politics, any politician, leave alone these people are being appointed and they just came from university. Those who have been in the circles of politics, they know what is going on the ground. And that's why you hear me and you heard me talking and saying, even though Ruto has got a lot of challenges, I am not seeing any organized group which can can defeat Ruto. Why? Because now the Muturis, Gachagwas, the Kalonzos, they are concentrated on the numbers of Kikuyus and Kambas. That is what they are counting. They are counting Kambas are 2 million, Kikuyus are 3, that is 7. But they are not asking themselves, how many counties are there in Mount Kenya? How many counties are in Kampaland? Are those counties enough to make you pass the test of the Constitution? Okay. Those are the issues I'm looking at when I hear people talk.
And I think the Taifa Leo, gazeti la Taifa Leo imeangazia habari hiyo. Ukurasa wa Taifa Leo pale mbele wanaangazia masuala ya muungano. Wanasema harufu ya muungano. Na kuna picha ya George Natembea hapo, gavana wa Trans Nzoia na Rigathi Gachagua. Tutarejelea kuangazia habari hii muda mfupi. Let's take a break right now. You're watching Morning Cafe. We'll be back to continue with this conversation.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips. And the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Right, welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indimuli. We continue looking at the regional politics going forward in cabinet, what happens with the ongoing debate on whether or not some cabinet secretaries will have to leave, the vetting that we expect today, 3 cabinet nominees who curiously are from the same region of this country. And now what you're seeing on the front page of this paper, that's a Taifa Leo, talking about a possible alliance between the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and what we may call now embattled governor of Trans Nzoia County, because he's saying that there are plans to have him impeached because of his sentiments against the government on abductions. Anasema harufu ya muungano. Na swali ni, could this work? In terms of what Bwana Mutambo has just been talking about, the regional balancing, what it would require a president to qualify for election, including the requirement for how many counties you have to have a majority. This could be a possible game changer, Bwana Manduku.
I think alliances will always be in the offing. And 3 years to elections or 2.5 years to elections is a long time. The alliances that will work are those that will be formed closer to the election, depending on the numbers. But I think something that we need to also look at, and this is something that as a country we need to discuss. We are very tribal, and this administration, Kenya Kwanza coalition, before the broad-based government came in, was a purely tribal alliance between the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin. And that is why all the appointments were made from those two areas. The Kikuyus have since left, and so the president has now looked for a new ally, that is my party leader Raila Odinga, who said that he would come in with people from his coalition. But unfortunately, we as Kisis also feel that he has gone in with the Luos and left the Kisis out. There's no single appointment that my party leader Raila Odinga has made that benefits the Kisis. And this is something that in Kisii we are discussing. And we're also looking for a way to make our own coalition with any likely partner who will promise us a better government if and when he forms that government, including the former deputy president. We're open to alliances. Something else that we must discuss as a nation. Look at the appointments now. If you go to the cabinet today, you will discover that 90% of those people in cabinet were former members of parliament. The framers of the constitution thought that the cabinet would be apolitical, that it would be formed of technocrats. But increasingly, that is not working. And that is why, as a country, I've always said, we may have to revert to a parliamentary system of government. And the reason being, when these people are appointed, they're not known, they don't read the pulse of the ground, and so they're not effective. And that is why the president has been frustrated. You appoint someone with a very nice curriculum vitae, very nice experience in private sector, but when he lands in government and given a portfolio, they can't click. And so he gets frustrated. As a country, we need to relook at our political architecture and revert to a parliamentary system of government where your ministers are also elected. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the permanent secretaries. Today, if I asked you, Fred in Muli, to name 5 PSs, you would not even name 3 because you don't know them. There are people who are just picked because of their tribal affiliation. Some were brought by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, some by people from the Kalenjin nation, and honed into government. And they're not effective. Most of them don't even know what they're doing. And so, if the president wants to retain the 2027, he wants to retain his seat in 2027, he must pick people who resonate with the ground, mm-hmm. who have political influence, so that he can deliver.
Is that what he has done with the latest nomination to cabinet, Bwana Gakuya? See names like Mutahi Kagwe, who has been in cabinet, a very senior position in charge of the health docket at a very trying time, the COVID pandemic. Lee Kinyanjui served as governor. William Kabogo has also served as governor. Is that the right mix that the current president needs, or is it a miscalculation on his part?
Muturi, what I would like to state is that the president thought was that now that Gachagua has deserted, and he would like to look for a new partner from Mount Kenya. And that's how he get back to his former boss, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And out of their discussion, then you can now see the results or the outcome of that meeting by the virtue of the appointments. And those appointments tells you very clear, except one from Kiambu, Kafogo, who most likely William directly consulted with. The other 2 are buddies of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And maybe In his own thought, his expectation was that they will be able to till the ground, and the former president probably will have a say. Last time I was here, I stated very categorically that nobody, including Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, will change the weed in mountain. It will be very difficult. And Dumul, let me tell you very simply, it is unfortunate that you took a decision that you regret later. Putting Gachagua under the bus was a big suicidal to William. And today I am sure he's regretting. Because nothing will work. If we want to win the hearts of mountain, the hearts are dead. And I can tell you, they deserve service. Because one, they participated in election, they voted for him. And they are taxpayers. And therefore they deserve services. And I will be able now to say, my good friend from Mwingi, Mutambo, as much as he would like to say that appointments are not supposed to be directed to that area, William is not doing anything bad, because he does not want to put the wood more Ija, and probably he will struggle to look how he can be able to hit it. But unfortunate is that it's like the feeling of the mountain is completely out of the space, and they have just taken a decision. But this is something which he knew, because he was told during the campaign time, what Mount Kenya hates, one is betrayal. And when it appears, then what do you expect it? And I can tell you for sure, you may try to change the bus drivers, but if I normally take that particular bus because I trust the driver in it, then there's no way you're going to, I will follow the driver where to hit whichever other bus he will go, is going to. And that is how it is. That you may substitute the prayers of the mountain politics, but that may not work because the hearts of the people are not there.
So it's
and I can tell you for sure, Kabogo, Mutahi, and Lee, they bring nothing in terms of political gains. They can serve the government to make the government work. But in terms of pulling people back to the government, that is zero.
So it's damned if it does, damned if it doesn't, because the mountain will still demand its position within cabinet. Okay, now whatever is happening in the Mount Kenya region has given rise to a different kind of grandstanding that we're now seeing across the country, especially whenever the president visits areas like Nyanza, Western, and the latest one in Rift Valley. And it is a big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation, where they're talking about drums of war. Whatever is happening in the Mount Kenya region seems to have put the president's allies in a position where they're now claiming that he will get re-elected whether Mount Kenya region likes it or not, what many people are calling chest thumping. So President William Ruto's close allies have in recent days made strongly worded statements vowing to secure him a second term in office in 2027 by whatever means possible, echoing past reckless declarations by politicians that have plunged the country into post-election turmoil. They have the images there of Dadaab MP Farah Maalim, Kapseret MP Oscar Sudi, the CS for Mining and Blue Economy Hassan Joho, and Tiati MP William Kamket. Some of the claims are very public. Some of them, we cannot even dare repeat them here on this forum. But they are very telling, and the pictures they've used of all these four gentlemen with their mouths open on the front page of the Daily Nation. What is happening? And this grandstanding we are seeing from the allies of the president, is it doing him any good? Bwana Mutambo.
Before I dive into that, allow me to correct Gakuya. I did not say Mount Kenya does not deserve appointments. They do, because they are Kenyans. And the drafters of Constitution alluded to that when they said regional balance. So that region must also be balanced, must also be in the government. When you are considering others, whether they voted for you or not, Mount Kenya deserves, it's not a favor, deserves, because they are Kenyans. So I did not say they don't need to. And what I did not also understand him is because when Ruto is appointing people from Mount Kenya is doing good. But when he's firing, he's doing bad. So we need to know which one we stand with.
Damned if he does, damned if he doesn't.
Yes. So we need to know which one we stand with. And if we see a scenario where, like what we have today, we need to stand firm. If it is bad, we say it's bad. If it is good, it is good. We stand with that. And coming to your question, you know, what my former colleagues, because these are people I've worked with, all of them, the way they are running their mouth is very dangerous for this country. Very and extremely dangerous. When you hear a very learned person like Farah Maalim uttering the words which, like you have alluded, we cannot utter here, and is a respected person in this country. He's a person who has even been a deputy speaker of this country. He's a person who has been, I think, vice party leader of Wiper, something like that. Person of this stature, telling Kenyans those words, it is something to worry about. And you know, it boils down now to the president. I know the president cannot gag people and cannot control what a politician say. But at least a word from him could be a comfort to Kenyans, saying, I denounce all this, what you're saying, guys, control your language, mind your language. If something like that comes from either the government side or from the president himself, can mean something very big to Kenyans. But silence or the dictates what these people are saying. And it is not a good picture to the country. Because, you know, there's nothing bad like civil war. And when you hear people talk of drums of war, it is civil war is more dangerous than a country fighting with another. But when now citizens pick arms against their fellow brothers, this is very dangerous. And when my good friend Oscar Sudi says that the president will be, even if the votes are not high enough, will add more, what is he telling Kenyans? That whether you like it or not, we are in the government and we'll go there and rig the election. So you have told Kenyans openly. And what will happen after the election, when President Ruto now genuinely wins? People will still hold to the fact that we were told they will rig, and they have rigged. So they will put the president in a very awkward position. He has won election rightly, but because of what his team or his men pronounced to nation, the notion in our minds will be that they have rigged or they have stolen the election. And that may drive this country into chaos.
Okay. And the faces we see on the front page appear to have given up on trying to convince Kenyans about what this administration does or would do for them. They're just saying that whether you like it or not, you will get a second term. This is less than 2.5 years, way below midway in the president's first term in office. Have they given up on trying to convince Kenyans or entice them with the performance of this administration?
Fred, it is often said out there that if you ask a Kenyan what this government has done, very few would count on their one hand the achievements of the government. That is not to say that they are not working, but whatever they are doing does not seem to translate to the average Kenyan's good in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of economic situation. But that aside, and it's very unfortunate that this can come from members of parliament and the leaders of this country. You don't have to chest thump because this is what is happening. And it's unfortunate because we don't seem to have learned from the Gen Z protests, which were largely brought about by the same behavior, opulence and display of arrogance in public, and forgetting that the offices we hold are entrusted to us by citizens. Now, they don't seem to have even done a SWOT analysis and realized who their real enemies are. Because when you come and say that online critics shall be finished, who are they? They are faceless. How many are they? 6 million. Are you going to finish 6 million people? Now, what will happen now? In the next voter registration, all these young people are going to be voters. And they'll wait and punish us at the ballot. And I can tell you 90% of we elected members of parliament and the Senate will not make it back to that house because of this kind of behavior. This will embolden the average Kenyan and just wait to punish us at the ballot. But more than that, the president has already lost half his voting block of Mount Kenya. And as Joe said here, they should be working to replace that voting block. And they have come to us in Nyanza, and we have said, yes, we are going to replace the Kikuyus. But unfortunately, we don't come out to vote. In my area, the turnout was 60% in the last election. Kakuya's area was 80%. Instead of working on the numbers and working to identify the real enemy, we're just going to press and trying to please the president. You know, when they talk like this in front of him, they think they're pleasing him. But the president is intelligent enough to know that these are just showbiz. And I ask my fellow colleagues and leaders to minimize this kind of talk. If you read the history of Rwanda, I was privileged to work in Rwanda. The triggers of the genocide were simple utterances like this. And they built up emotions, pent up emotions, and eventually led to the massacre of 1 million Tutsis. I'm not saying that we are going that way, but it is possible that we can have internal strife. And as my colleague said, internal strife is worse than having a belligerent from outside. And it doesn't help the president because these people talking like this are largely from his background. If it was people from Kisii talking or the Luya nation, then it would be credible. But these are his people. And I think you should ask them to desist from this for the sake of the country.
Okay. And there appears to be an intended audience where all this rhetoric is directed to, because it's not they're not just speaking to people in general. They seem to be directing this to a certain group that whether you like it or not, we will do this. That group could just as well be the Mount Kenya region, which appears to have shifted its allegiance from the president. What do you think will be the result of this kind of talk, if at all the Mount Kenya region sees itself as the intended audience of this kind of comments?
In the morning, I think the president took an oath, and the oath was to protect the Constitution. That is the mandatory aim number one. Number two is to protect the people and their property. Today, when the president sits in a gathering and allows men like Malim to put that kind of incitement in his presence, member for Baringo, Cameron, saying, we are used to go to 24 years, and we shall take that route. So whether you like it or not, we are going nowhere. That tells you, that language tells you, already we are in a banana republic. We are no longer in the path of a constitution. And if that kind of rhetoric is not going to be tamed by the head of state himself, and he will allow them to go rules the way they are, then where do you find the country? In terms of even economic growth, it will not flourish. Because one, we are creating fear to investors. Whoever would like to invest in us, he cannot come with that kind of rhetoric. So I think the president has a duty to stop elements of his re-election and concentrate to serve the people to the term he was given by Kenyans. Allow Kenyans to decide when they come to ballot in 2027. But if he himself put himself to that box, then I fail to understand, Dimuri, who is going to be left to serve Kenyans if the head of state is getting to that box. Me, I wish The wisdom should drive the head of state so that he can tame this rhetoric from his team and allow this country to cool. In fact, I always keep reminding that he campaigned the whole of his second term as a deputy president for presidency. Nobody denied him to do any meetings, any gathering. Therefore, people like Kalonzo Musyoka, Natembea, Gachagua, and the rest, the Constitution does not deny them such freedom of making such meetings or campaigns. And if he thinks that they are doing the wrong thing, then he should initiate a law to carve that and make sure that, in fact, no more politicians are supposed to keep campaigning. But the president should not lose the focus, because his term is only halfway. He needs to concentrate in serving and make sure that he forgets the rest, because he, redeeming himself is very easy in the 2 years if he concentrates to serve. But if he concentrates to campaign and keep now fighting back, I don't think this would be any sensible. And to my view, as much as his supporters will want to force this country to determine where 2027 will go, first I would say, President constitutes the IBC. The Commission of Cricket has stated very clearly that the country should have in place an IBC 3 years before election for preparation. One, not to be just behind, overtaken by the elimination of boundaries, which already time has elapsed. Nobody is concentrating with that. It's a constitutional mandate, which nobody seems to care about. If this is the route we are going to take, then how do you expect us to have confidence with the head of state and his government? I think the time is ripe that President concentrate in delivering to Kenyans as mandated by the Constitution. Allow Constitution of IBC, make sure that no single constituents of this country are suffering because their members are dead and there are no replacement. And I think it is a constitutional mandate to do this and avoid this kind of route and path Kamket and his team are taking. This is a suicidal route. And if the president want to give it away, well.
The other group that may actually be or see itself as the intended audience of these utterances are the Gen Zs, who have been very vocal on social media. In fact, over the past 2 weeks, they've been the subject of the abductions that we've been talking about so much. They've been ordered, threatened to stop doing provocative or negative or, negative caricatures of the president inside a casket, use of the president's image using AI, even videos in ways that are not portraying him in good stead. And it would appear that that particular group, unlike the Mount Kenya region, which has a different kind of demographic, is not feeling threatened, Bwana Mutambo. The caricatures haven't stopped. In fact, there are now more. Do you think that this kind of rhetoric and reckless comments by these leaders will change the way Gen Zs are treating this administration?
Absolutely no. You know, we fail in managing our own affairs in the sense that these Gen Zs are human beings. Whether they are young or what, they are human beings. They have all feelings, good and bad. The question is, are we talking to them? Are we addressing their issues? We have a Ministry of Youth. Have we ever had a Minister of Youth? And I don't know you see that what? Engaging in a positive manner this youth. What we hear is threats. We saw, and I'm saying they will not, because we saw Murkomen saying that they will deal with those who are drawing people in the casket. Within 1 minute, he himself was circulating inside a casket. What does that tell you? the revolt is on high gear, that these youth, they are so agitated, and they keep on, that balloon keeps on expanding until one day it will burst. The problem is that when this youth started whatever they started, it's only the president who attempted to talk to them once when he came on live TV. And he said, I'm going to engage you on, I don't know, X or Twitter or whatever it is. But from there, the effort of the president, you know, if, and I'm not the government spokesman, but if I was in government, before my president does something to quell the situation or to solve the problem or the situation on the ground, I will be the first person, if I am working for that government, I will be the first person to make sure where I come from, I have addressed the needs and the issues of the youth. But like Madugu has said, the people who are working with the president, they have no clue, and they are not helping him politically, because a minister should be in a position to help the president solve some social issues. Because if you are a minister and you come from a region, you must be respected in that region.
What about if they are flower girls?
That's what we are talking about now. That's what I'm saying. Those leaders who are in the offices, they have left the president alone. Because I've never had a meeting called by any minister from Ukambani to support the president or to talk to the youth, to want to understand what is the problem of the youth. I have never had. I have never heard from any region. So these guys are comfortable in their offices, they are getting their salaries, they are getting 2 chase cars, and they are comfortable. So they leave the president alone. Now the sympathizers of the president, they are seeing the situation is so bad. What they come? They come breathing fire. Mahalim, Sudi, Joe, you got a position and you want to defend that position. So you can only defend it by whatever means. But instead of ranting on on media like this, Joe could have called the youth in Mombasa and sat them down and tell them, you know, this government is doing 1, 2, 3, so please let us stop what you are doing. That is a better approach than telling them, we also have our team and we are going to face you. Okay, so people will prepare for a war. So the approach they are taking, the approach leaders are taking, those who are working with the president, is the one which is messing the president himself.
But Amandu, could you understand the level of frustration in this administration? That despite what they try, despite what they say, that this particular demographic, the Gen Zs, continue radicalizing and becoming even more dissentful against this government, that their criticism is getting to levels where it wasn't before, that they seem to have gone slow on the street protests, but online things have reached fever pitch. Yet the government, despite all its efforts, is not able to even counter any such push. Definitely, the president must feel frustrated. Now he's facing dissent from his own cabinet, and Mount Kenya region has gone. Do you understand this level of anger? Probably which could turn into reckless statements by some of the people allied to the president.
You know, Fred, since the infamous protests, which were largely attributed to the proposed Finance Bill 2024, we as a country have never really addressed the issues that the Gen Z protesters had. If you remember, one of the things that they thought was going wrong was the issue of opulence. And they felt that we in government was on exclusion. It is very sad that even after appointing his cabinet for the 3rd time, the president has never really included anyone from that generation in his cabinet. The Gen Zs also felt that they'd been left out of economic development. We have never really addressed the problem. We are just trying to bury our heads in the sand, thinking that the problem will go away. And so, in a way, it is mutating. And that's why I said, come voter registration, you will see 7 million new voters. Unfortunately, these 7 million new voters will not be voting for President William Ruto. That is what the reality is, and that is what these people should be dealing with. Now, in the alternative, the best way is to engage them directly, as my friend has said, even if it means addressing them on social media, and listen to their grievances. Try and solve those that you can, and explain to them why you cannot solve others that you can't. We're always talking about the big things we are doing. But in this country, what matters are the small things that touch the ordinary person. It cannot be that we have graduates who are out there 5, 6, 7 years who have no hope of ever getting a job. And when the jobs come, they go to one community. Kikuyus and Kalenjins. That is a problem. If there are 20 jobs today, 10 jobs will go to 2 communities. The other 10 will be shared across the country. Those are the things that we must address. Exclusivity, merit, issue of corruption, and opulence. Without addressing those things and talking big on media and promising and giving scorecards that don't exist, we will not change the mindset of these young people. And I'm telling young people, when the time comes, please register in large numbers and get out these leaders, because they're not helping you.
Do you understand their frustration? That
I do.
totally
I have Gen Z in my house. In this country, even if you want to get a simple thing like an ID or a passport, even simple things, you must know somebody. You know, if my son wants an ID, because I'm a member of parliament, I must talk to somebody. I mean, nothing works. And that is the problem of these young people. They are frustrated. No job, no income, no assets, no future, guaranteed future. And yet we told them that education is a sure way of success. We have more than 1 million graduates out there with diplomas, certificates, degrees today, who are just hopeless. And so the alternative is to vent their frustration and anger through social media. And we politicians, what we do, we don't understand them. We start mocking them and just stamp in public fora. And that is the problem of this country.
Mm-hmm. Now, social media will definitely be big, Bwana Gakuya, going forward. The difference between 2022 elections and where we are right now, 2 years later, is like day and night. The level of social media use, the level of AI use, where you can caricature the president in any manner you may wish, is different. If we are seeing this kind of frustration by senior leaders allied to the president at this point, it means that probably by 2027, these things will have boiled over. Do you see any way that this administration could go back on what it has gotten wrong this time, in as far as handling the Gen Z and the use of social media and internet to express dissent?
Muturi, I would like to state that even the fear of the state is not a mountain. The fear of the state is the youth, because the youth has no boundary, and it's all over. They have no boundary. And if I was the head of state, I would have concentrated to listen and do something that will be able to appease them, make them cool. Because at this point in time, it's like the youth has lost hope. Because in our platform, during our campaign, we were campaigning on a platform of empowering. Hustler, bottom-up system. It is dead. It's no longer there. Then the hopes are diminished, and they are no longer. And as much as the cat is very small, when you push it to the wall, it may harm you very dangerously when it is fighting back. And youth is a constituent that we should not forget for now. Take it from understand that this youth is a youth with skills. So they are using devices. They were able even to track where the abductees were. And they were able to say how many they are inside. How they were able to track, you can't know. So they have a very high understanding of this area of IT. And if I was the head of state, instead of abducting these youths, find them where to fix them, make the use of their skills. Because otherwise, if you leave them outside there, those are idle minds, and idle minds is devil's workshop. What else do you expect from them? Give them hope at least. Make sure that there is a way they can feel they are listened to. But as of now, they made their statement, and then you brought back the cabinet in a manner that they said they do not want, and you want them to mute. They muted from moving to streets, but they retreated back to the digital platforms. And if you think that you're going to kill them there, it will be very difficult. And even though you would like to minimize them, they are in a big number that we may not be able to do anything to stop that. What we should do, instead of taking very drastic measures, bring them close. And I think that's the way to go. I would say it is not fair for them to sometimes to be, through their anger, making some content that are hurting. But I also wearing their shoe and feeling that, in fact, they are outside there. Disparately, in fact, they are graduates, they have no hope, they have nowhere, and we are calling them the leaders of tomorrow. How? When is this tomorrow? The tomorrow should be, once you are appointing the PSs, give them a slot. Once you appoint the cabinet, give them slots. Once you are making other appointments, consider them.
But is it that simple? Because it would appear that dealing with the Gen Zs could be an exercise in futility, even for the president. He has resorted to probably methods that would have worked probably back in the 1980s when Daniel Moi was president, and he managed to instill some fear in the general populace, enough to cool down any sort of dissent. But it would appear that this particular generation is not so easy to appease in any way. Is it possible for the president, as Bwanagakuya says, appoint some of them to government positions? Is that enough for this? Or is it an exercise in futility? Once they go against you, sawa kubali?
I think this youth, they want more. It's not only a question of appointing them to positions. And if you listen keenly, and you follow them. If you follow them, you will understand these are wise people who know what they want in the country. They are crying for justice in the country. Getting justice is not employing them in giving them positions. Getting justice is doing what is just to every Kenyan. This is what they're asking. These guys are asking to be recognized because they feel they have not been recognized in one way or the other. And if I was in government, or if I was the government today, if I was running this country, I would concentrate more on trying to appease them in whichever way possible, and not through the rant of Kenamalimu, calling them, I don't know what, mama. Not that route, because that will agitate them more. President has got all the machinery. He knows the country. He knows the regions very well. And he knows people. President, from where he sits, he knows from Nyanza, I can have 2-3 people of this caliber who can have engagement with the youth and they will listen to them. He knows. I can tell you, he knows from Coast who can handle the youth. He knows from Nairobi who can handle the youth of Nairobi. He has not taken that route. He has, I don't know why he has ignored it. Or maybe there's nobody. Get so and so in this region, and this issue will come down. Instead of engaging these people with the police and with Sudi and Maalim and Kamket, engage them with the people they can listen to. And they will ventilate. They'll say their problems. And some of those problems, what you can handle today, you handle. What you can't handle today, they are also understanding. They know all of them, they cannot fit in government jobs. They know that. It's not that they don't know. But they know that the government can guarantee them their freedom. They know that the government can guarantee them their justice. They know that. And that is what they're asking. Is that too much? Why don't we have even a system or people or a group of organization handling the issues of this because ignoring them does not solve the problem. calling them names does not solve the problem. Actually, if I were the president, that person who drew me in a casket, I would invite him and ask him to draw a bigger picture of me in a casket. So they will say, oh, okay, so it is not hurting. But the moment you show it is hurting, then now they are happy they have achieved. The goal of a terrorist is to inflict pain in you. So the moment they see you get that pain, they will do it more. But the moment you show them you don't feel nothing, then they will say, we are doing nothing here. These people we are talking to, or whatever you are doing is not working. They will change the tack. So if you don't want to see those cartoons, tell these people to draw big ones, not small, and give them space even on the newspapers and advertise for them. Then they will see, oh, okay, hapa, hakuna kitu tunafanya. Then they will stop drawing. But the moment you tell them, you will arrest them, you will abduct them, you will kill them, then they will keep on drawing if that thing agitates you. I like the way the president did when during the New Year celebration. That song, the Kasongo song, he said, play that song. And you can see the tempo of the Kasongo song now, it has gone down. Because people have realized, oh, the guy enjoys the song. So it is not hurting him. The same strategy he need to use with the youth. And he gets people who can interact with the youth to quell their issues.
And what is so offensive about some of these caricatures? Because it would appear these people are really act by being drawn in a casket or any other manner. What is the big deal? Why are you taking so much offense about a caricature that could be created by anyone?
You know, Fred, it is mainly our socialization. In African tradition or African culture, some subjects are taboo, and one of them is death. In fact, there's a book by John S. Bethy, African Philosophy and Religion, which says that in all cultures, death was never discussed. And that's why, even as Africans, we don't write wills. Mm-hmm. We don't cremate. And because it's a taboo subject, you associate it with a cultism, and because you don't understand death. And so when someone imagines that he can die, he's bound to get angry or act by such a thought. But I think with civilization and exposure, we are going to accept death as part of life. And once we do that, then it is normal. As a country, we are not there yet. And that's why if you drew me in a casket, I would really not like you. Same appears to the president and other people. But then we miss the point. And the point is the pent-up dissatisfaction of the young people. When someone is drawing you in a casket, he's telling you in short that you don't deserve to live. And you should be looking at the root cause. And that is what we are saying. Address the problem. What is it? Mm-hmm. Lack of livelihoods, exclusion from the mainstream, display of opulence that we do, because we wear expensive watches and drive big cars, and they know that that is the money that we are using. And once we solve that, then this is bound to go down.
Mm-hmm. Right. Bwana Gakuya, the youth also are watching the structures that are supposed to be protecting them and realizing that none is able to, not even the judiciary. The IG of police and the DCI boss have continued to defy summons to appear before court. Yesterday they were given another directive to appear before court on Friday this week without fail. Yet we've seen that not once or twice they've simply not showed up. And that has gone without consequence. That in itself will further radicalize the youth when they realize that structures that are supposed to protect them are not working. Is there a way to remedy that? The fact that the judiciary, despite all the orders, are simply not effective?
Idemoli, I would say, these young men were very cool in the last 2 years. It's only that they boiled and they raised their temperatures during when they realized that the taxes are kept hiking every day, and they felt, yes, then our parents cannot be able to fight this battle any longer. Why doesn't we wake up now and defend our parents in this particular route that they have been taken? And this actually has just come out of anger, that we promised that the donkey is already tired, and what we are going to do is to reduce the burden of the donkey. But it has not proved anything right. The donkey is still kept loaded, and this is a big anger to the youth. Number two, we made a lot of promises, and I would tell you, if you have an IG who does not respect the law, if you have government systems which are ignorant of court directions, how do you expect the youth to adopt? They will embrace what you are showing them. You are showing that you are at the point of becoming lawlessness. And that is what they will adopt. And what I would just say, a child grows on how you train. If you don't train him well, he will just adopt what is in the society. And you cannot blame the child. You blame yourself. You fail to have a chance to nurture the child on a manner that he will realize how to get moral. And he did adopted immorality. And that is where we are. I think we have a duty to make sure that we all respect the law and we become our obligators, so that even our youth can be able to feel that we are a law-abiding country. Okay. But if this is not the case, what a picture do you want to portray to the whole generation? I think it is wrong that we are heading to that direction.
And as we wrap up, if you look at the front page of the People Daily, it talks about the ills that seem to be present within the judicial system. And there's a plot by some lawyers, very senior lawyers, to remove judges, accusing them of corruption and misconduct. They're calling it juris pesa. Now, this is a third arm of government. The same one that even now when it's issuing orders to police over the ongoing abductions, the police are simply ignoring the orders without consequence. Last year we saw what the Gen Zs felt about Parliament. You are members of Parliament, and they came directly for you. And that was in direct response to what they feel about the executive and the president. The three arms of government are not serving the Gen Z. How will you stop them? How will you change their minds, Bwana Mutambu? If they're not happy with the president, they're definitely not happy with the Parliament, and now that they're seeing that the judiciary will not be their solution.
It becomes a time bomb. And if we don't take it on a serious note, it will definitely grow.
There's only one solution here. The youth don't have a platform where they feel their issues can be addressed. So if I were the president, and this is what I want to ask the president to do, create or form a youth commission, whereby now the youth will see or will feel we have an alternative or we have a place to address our issues with a clear mandate on what to do with the youth of this country and on how to address the issues of the youth. Create a youth commission. And this problem, even if it is not be fully solved, it will be half solved.
But how?
Why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. You know, this youth, I told you they are human beings. And they want to be also recognized. And they want to feel that they are also participating in the affairs of the country. Right? But as it is now, they feel that Parliament is not with them. They feel executive is not with them. They feel the judiciary is not with them. All right? Now, with that kind of a feeling, when it comes to the matters of the judiciary, they will ignore everything because they feel that does not belong to them. Give them something which belongs to them. Then they will say, this is ours. And if we destroy it, we are destroying our future. They will understand. And if you create this youth commission, You will make laws on how it will operate and under what terms. And that will give them at least a shoulder to put their head on, to think through about this. Without the policies of the youth and everything will come through that commission. They will be told, bring whatever you want to the commission, and it will be implemented. That way they will feel they have something. But the reason why we have a problem in our organization, both Parliament, because, sorry, my members are here, and I'm also been a member of Parliament, but is there anything honorable today about members? Is there anything honorable? So that we deserve that name. That's a question we need to ask ourselves. Is there anything in judiciary that we can take home? When you see things happening the way they're happening, when you see what is happening in the executive, when you have people surrounding the executive and this is the talk we are getting from them, do you think Kenyans will feel that there's something tangible to take home about the executive? So if all these things are not checked, then going forward, we'll have a country which every member of the society want to do what they want. If it is the age group of the Gen Zs, they want to do what they want. If it is the members of parliament, they want to do what they want. If it is the judiciary, they want to do what they want. If it is now Chama ya Wazee, which I am a member, we would want to do, and the Chama ya Mama, they would want to do, and there will be no order in this country.
But what does that say about our society, Bwana Manduku, as we finish, when even the structures provided for by the Constitution have failed an entire generation? The executive, parliament of which you're a member, and the judiciary.
Fred, until now, most Kenyans believe that the judiciary is their only hope of the three arms of government. Kenyans lost faith in the legislature, where I belong. They lost faith in the executive. They have lots of hope in the judiciary. And so, as much as this is going on, we should guard our judiciary jealously. We should do everything that is possible to guard the independence of the judiciary. That is not to say that we ignore the concerns that senior counsels have raised. But even then, let us do it with some kind of decorum. In this country before, we've had a bill in Parliament which allowed for vetting of judges. Actually, I remember it was led by Sharad Rao, the Sharad Rao Vetting Committee of Judges. We have had what we call the radical surgery. It is possible to do these reforms through a proper legal framework, not through X or Twitter. We should avoid that so that we maintain the integrity and the independence of the judiciary. But then, coming back to your question, normally, the judiciary is the court or the point of last resort. And so the young people are feeling that the judiciary doesn't have teeth, because when they give orders to the IG to appear before them or to the DCI to appear before them, they ignore such summons and nothing happens. This is a very dangerous trend that we are setting for this country. And the young people looking at that will also lose hope in the judiciary. What will happen? People will start taking law into their hands. And that is what we are likely to face, because whenever the judges give orders and they're ignored, there seems to be, we are growing seeds of impunity. And out of those seeds will germinate deeds of discontent. And that could lead to taking law into our own hands, which is a dangerous trend, which I would ask Kenyans not to go that way.
Okay. Final comment.
My final comment is that this country is ours, and we have no any other country that we can call our motherland. Let us all be observant of respecting our laws. Let us respect our constitution, right from the top bottom. And by doing that, we will safeguard this country. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if you get reckless and ignore this young generation, is a time bomb, and it may take this country to a different direction. So I wish that let us be good examples for our youth, so that they can have confidence with us and they can have hope of their future in this country.
Thank you so much. James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, Daniel Manduku, MP Nyaribari Masaba, and John Mutambu, former MP Mungi Central, our panelists this morning. It is unfortunate John Waluke, MP Sirisia, wasn't able to come here. I would have wanted to hear his sentiments about what's going on in the country. Very interesting headlines today. Drums of war on the front page of the Daily Nation. If at all you're reading these papers from outside Kenya, you may think that Kenya is on fire. Resignation fears in Ruto cabinet. Inside plot to remove judges. These are just some of the discussions we're having locally here in Kenya today. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your very well-considered opinions on these matters. Well, Morning Cafe still continues after the break. We'll be having this discussion on digital transformation for SMEs. I just want to get you the proper details. Digital transformation in SMEs. Patrick Muraguri, CEO, Have a Go Business Systems, will be having a sit-down with my colleague Arno Dida after the break. You don't want to miss that conversation. My name is Fred Indemuli. Good morning.